right, welcome to our third, I think this is our third class of wall yoga. And we're gonna keep on keeping on with using the wall to unravel all of our coping mechanisms, just the ones in yoga, not the ones in life, although you might have an existential crisis while we're doing this, who knows. But we are gonna unravel some of those coping mechanisms that we have in our yoga practice where we just don't recognize where our body is in relationship to itself and the world around it. So that's the great thing about the wall, is it really forces us into that. So let's just take a moment to take a couple deep breaths. And just notice where you're holding tension that you don't need to be. If you're just kind of run in from work or outside, maybe you're at the beginning of your day or at the end of your day, just letting everything outside of the space you're in right now go. And if there's something that's weighing heavy on your mind, just every exhale, imagine it kind of melting, trickling down through the body, and then seeping into the floor. And let's go ahead and do a real quick legs up the wall and do some kind of like fast hip opening and hamstring opening, just to kind of shock our body, warm it up. So you're gonna need your strap and you're gonna get your butt into the wall, drop your shoulder down and slide the legs up the wall. So you're on your back. We're just gonna take about 5 breaths here. And again, if you cannot get your butt into the wall and your back on the floor at the same time, you want to slide something in under your hips. I'm going to start with a little hip opener. So right ankle on the left knee or just past the knee on the thigh. And then bending that left leg. You want to make sure that your sitting bones, the flesh of your booty, stays into the wall and your low back stays on the ground or on the support that you already have under it. And you adjust the intensity by how much you bend this left leg. So again, if you're finding yourself here, you want to back off with that left leg so that you can get your butt down. I have some sensitive knees, so I like to keep my right foot flexed. That just helps protect the knee joint. And I'm thinking about really weighting down my sacrum, so the back side of my pelvis. I just want to feel that being nice and heavy. I can even actively kind of push down into the pelvis, sending my pubic bone away from my belly button, and that'll get you a little bit deeper. And then as we're finishing in this hip opener, you've got that foot here. You might as well take the strap, put it right around the ball of the foot, and then you're going to release that leg up, release the other leg up, and then pull that right leg away from the wall. And you hear me talk about opposition all the time. So we want to find our oppositions. From our knee to our heel is reaching up towards the sky. From our knee to our hip is plugging down into the floor. Our toes are pulling away from the wall, and our upper thigh is pressing in towards the wall. And then we want to make sure that our shoulders are firmly rooted on the floor. So you don't want to grab up here so that you're kind of pulling everything out of place. You want to grab lower so that you can think about hugging the elbows into your rib cage and down towards the floor. So my chest is nice and open, and my back is doing this work instead of my neck and my chest. Just a couple deep breaths here. Soften your jaw, relax your tongue, your forehead. Try to make that exhale twice as long as your inhale. And then you release the foot, let go of the strap. Left ankle comes on to just above the right knee. Bending that right knee. Ooh, this is my tighter side. Flexing the foot if you need to protect your left knee. And again, we're trying to keep the tissue of the booty into the wall, the low back on the floor. So if you need to support yourself and under your low back, go ahead and do that. And if you want to deepen this pose wherever you are, think about pressing those hips down into the floor, sending your pubic bone away from you. Again, you want to think about a nice long inhale, but trying to kind of savor your exhale. See if you can savor it so much it almost lengthens out twice the length of the inhale. Just triggering your nervous system to calm down, to relax, to chill out. And anytime you're in this legs up the wall position, we're already calming the nervous system. So bringing in some breath work can only add to the juiciness of the calming. And we've already got this left foot here, so we might as well wrap a strap around it and release both legs up the wall. And then start to pull the left leg away from the wall, finding opposition, knee to ankle up, knee to thigh down, toes away, thigh towards. And then getting nice and sturdy in your upper body so that the back muscles are doing this work, not the pecs and chest and arms and shoulders. Softening your jaw, relaxing your tongue. And then releasing. And let's bring the feet together, open up into a butterfly for a second. Drop those heels down as far as they'll go, and then just use your hands to push the knees kind of diagonally out and towards the wall. So that little sequence that we did took all of, I don't know, 7-8 minutes probably. And we have hit kind of all the way around the hips. And finishing here, we're not just getting inner thigh, but we're also getting into those quads a bit. At least I am in my body. So that's a quick way, like 10 minutes or less, that you can kind of just hit the legs all the way around. And it's great after a day of sitting, whether you're in the car or at work or hiking. There's no excuse. You can do it in under 10 minutes. Let that go. Roll on over. Ooh. And before we get into our kind of traditional down dog wall theme of that we've been doing, I want to add in a total body hellraiser. So we're going to use the wall, and if you've got something that slides in under you, or if you're in socks, I just want to make sure you've got something that's really going to stick. So I'm just going to move this out of the way because there's a lot of pressure going in your feet, and I will most likely make it slide anyways. So what you're going to do is you're going to be, I don't know, 12 inches or so away from the wall. You can adjust this depending on your body's needs. And then you're going to just sit your butt back. So I'm in a bit of a squat, like not a super squat, but, you know, squatty-ish. My feet are hip width apart. My knees are on top of my ankles. So pay attention while you're doing this to what's going on in your body. It's going to tell you where you tend to have a weakness and a strength. So if my knees are dropping in here, that means that I need to be strengthening my outer thighs, my outer glutes, because I'm not having the strength to keep those knees out. Now, if I'm going out here, that probably means that I'm super tight in my quads, and the tightness is coming through into the psoas. So the psoas come up into the back of the pelvis. One attaches onto the iliac crest back here, and then the other one comes up into the spine and attaches there, which is why when you sit for long periods of time, you shorten that muscle, and then you have low back pain. So if you're finding that it's your knees are kind of swaying out like that, chances are you're also sticking your butt out like that, and you know that you need to be stretching these hip flexors, which we're going to do in a little bit. So pay attention to what's going on, knees and ankles, okay? And you're going to tuck your booty under so that your low back is completely flat against the wall. And then you're going to push your whole spine against the wall, even trying to get the back of the neck. Back of the neck's not going to happen, but it's that action of trying to get the back of the neck onto the wall that I want you to be working on, okay? You'll notice that probably your shoulders are floating forward here. We want to nip that in the butt. So you're going to take your hands, externally rotate, so the palms are looking out, and then press yourself back into the wall. All of this while keeping your entire spine pressed into the wall. Not easy. If you're not in pain already, you're not working hard enough. So the whole spine is pressed into the wall. And then I really want you to think about pressing the tissue along the delts here and the triceps, pressing that back into the wall. So there's a really strong external rotation. It's like I'm trying to almost get my thumbs to go back into the wall, but just rest the backs of the hands on the wall. As you really focus on that external rotation and pulling, so what that does is I actually rotate, my scapula comes in towards my spine, and then I pull it down the back. We live our lives up here, okay? This is our stress place. We want to get it down. As you do that, you will notice the back, all in black, it's kind of hard to see, but as you do that, okay, as you try to get that upper body to really drop, you're going to notice that that mid back is going to want to pop out. So that is the journey, is getting all of these things, all of these cues that I've just given you to happen at the same time, while keeping the spine completely pressed against the wall, while breathing, and while not dying in our legs. So you are using your feet here. You're pushing yourself into the wall. And that energy moves up the legs into your core, and that helps activate your core. So if you're not feeling this in your legs, push yourself into the floor more. So I'm almost trying to like slide. Imagine you were trying to move something heavy. So you know, you live alone, you got a big heavy thing, and you need to use your body weight, which is a quarter of what it is you're pushing, to push something, okay? You really need to push into the floor and push away. So that's what is happening in the lower legs. Your butt should hurt, your thighs should hurt, your feet, your calves, all of it. And then your core should be on fire. I call this the pin-up. And this was one of my favorite things to torment my clients with when I was doing personal training years ago. But it is the fastest thing to strengthen all the right places to fix your posture. If you do this for a few minutes, like 30 seconds, a couple times a day, you don't have to hold it forever like I'm making you do now. But, you know, I see a wall, I go, I do the pin-up. I swear to you, in a week, your posture will change. I promise you. And then really make sure that the knees are staying right on top of the ankles. So they might be swaying in or swaying out. Get them on top. That whole spine against the wall. And then release. Press yourself away. And then we're going to start in our down dog stuff against the wall. Okay, so we're about a torso and arm length away from the wall. And we fold forward and bring our hands just about the same height as our hips. So you might need to switch. We don't want to, again, be out here, and we don't want to be here. We want to be that nice 90-degree angle. And I press my thigh bones back. So again, we've been using the block between the thighs. You can continue to, if that helps you remember to engage those thighs. And it's like you're feeding the block through the legs. As you fold forward, the abdominals draw up into the back body, and you imagine that your entire spine is pressing into the ceiling. So I'm not sagging here, I'm not sinking into my shoulders. I'm actually really engaged in a long, straight spine from my tail to my head. My elbows bend softly, and I hug the elbows in towards each other, so the elbow points look down. And then I push into my feet, kind of the opposite of what we were just doing, because we're facing the opposite direction. I push down, I push back, okay? And then there's a little pushing action that happens here between my legs and my arms. So I push my arms into the wall, and then I'm pushing my feet to take me forward. And I shouldn't go anywhere. I should just be in purgatory. Just not going anywhere, but everything's engaged, everything hurts. And all I can do is sit here and practice breathing while I tighten every single muscle in my body. So this is kind of what your down dog should feel like. Everything is working, and we're not just hanging out in our shoulders and in our hands. Okay, bend the knees, push yourself away, ragdoll up. Why have we been doing this every week, aside from just torture and strengthening our core and our shoulder girdle? Great question. I'm so glad you guys asked. Let's go into another pose before I answer that question. So grab both of your blocks. We'll go back into that forward fold at the wall, because then we're going to take this into that inversion that I've been talking about. So heels against the wall, booty against the wall. You're going to kind of roll yourself down onto your blocks as gracefully as you can. So now you're really sticking your thighs back into the wall, and then you think about your sitting bones as lifting up the wall. So there's a reaching action of those sitting bones as you forward fold. Blocks are here to support you because it is really hard to maintain this without falling over. So my legs are super strong here. My upper body is a little more chillaxed. But then I'm going to turn my blocks onto their side. I'm going to walk my hands out as far as they'll go without my shoulders scrunching towards my ears. So I can still maintain a nice long open neck. And then I'm just kind of like a cat stretches when it wakes up. I'm pushing into the blocks to lengthen my hips back even more. So I'm getting nice and long through my torso. And I'm reaching. So reach through the hands, reach through the hips, reach through the heels. Everything gets longer. And now move your blocks out of the way. Take your butt away from the wall. Keep those heels pinned down. Okay, so if you've got really tight calves and your heels are going to start to pop up, I only want you to take it as far as you can with your heels still down. If that means you barely go anywhere, then that means you barely go anywhere. I barely went anywhere. That's fine. And now I'm going to keep that same feeling, pushing through the hands, lifting through the hips, pushing through the heels. Beautiful. Drop down to your knees. Turn yourself over. We're just going to measure, essentially, feet into the wall. Where's your butt? Find the end of your butt. Mark it with your hand. Keep that. You're going to put the heel of your hands right where the end of your butt was, okay? And now you're going to come into that down dog. Heels may or may not be on the floor. It doesn't matter. That's not where we're going. What we are going to do, what we just did at the wall a second ago, where we bend the elbows, we hug the elbows in, we suck the humerus bones into the shoulder sockets so that the neck is long and the shoulders are doing the work, not the neck. And then we're going to put one foot on the wall. We're going to push into our hands. We're going to put the other foot on the wall and stick our butt up, okay? So just stacking on top of our hands here, getting used to being upside down. Pull your belly into your low back. So same thing we were doing folded here. We gotta have that strong action of the belly pushing back to keep our butts up in the air. And then come on down and just take a rest. Set yourself back. That should have been hard. We're gonna do it again. I am going to give you the option to go deeper if you so choose. Because that was essentially just getting us used to being upside down and holding our weight in our hands. And if you want to just watch this, and then, actually, yeah, just watch it, and then we'll go into it all together. So you'll start in your downward facing dog. Your hands are where the end of your butt was. We measured that. 1 foot up, 2 feet up, and then I'm reaching my butt for the sky. I separate my feet to hip width, and then I start to push into my legs. As I do that, my butt's going to end up on top of my wrists, ideally. I have to draw my belly in to hold my legs up, okay? If you find that your feet are sliding down the wall, it's because you're not engaging your core, and your feet are just melting down the wall. So, you guys ready? We're 26 minutes into it, and I'm like, let's do it! You guys have been working hard these last few weeks. I know you can do it. So, hands, down dog. Bend those elbows, hug the elbows in, suck your humerus bones, the upper arm bones, into the shoulder sockets so that you're not trying to hold this up with your neck. Bend one knee, bend the other. Get your feet hip width apart. Pull your belly towards your sacrum. Start to straighten those legs out. Push into the floor, push into the wall. Bend the knees, up, down. Whew, take a child's pose. Do you guys feel how that down dog with the hands on the wall, that 90-degree down dog, sets you up to be able to do this? It taught you all the different ways that you have to engage your body in order to get your butt up in the air. So if that was incredibly hard for you, keep practicing with this wall version and dragging the heels of the hands down the wall. And that's going to strengthen everything so that you are going to be able to flip yourself around and get upside down with a lot more ease and most likely a lot more grace. So, good job. Stand up, shake it all out. That was a lot of work in the upper body and core, and I mean legs, but we don't tend to stand on our hands, so our arms tend to freak out. All right. I'm going to do a shoulder opener first, which is actually a prep for our back bends. So this is called dancing at the wall. It can be really easy for some people, and it can be incredibly hard for others. It is incredibly hard for me no matter how open I am, just from the way my body's put together through my collarbones and shoulder girdle. So don't beat yourself up if this is like impossible, because it's pretty much impossible for me. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with your shoulder towards the wall, and you're going to turn your palm downwards, okay? So this right here is already a gnarly stretch for me. And we're just going to rest in this position for a second. And we're essentially going to turn around our arm. So we're going to try to keep our hand where it is, fingers down. And then I have to bend my knees really low in order to get under my arm. If you have a more flexible arm and shoulder joint, you might just be able to like blink and make this look super graceful and elegant. That is not what this is going to look like for me. So I have to kind of like get down, get my feet apart, and then I'm going to turn away from the wall, looking up towards the sky as I do this. So I'm coming into kind of a back bend, and I keep going all the way around until I'm facing the wall again. Internal rotation, super strong internal rotation here, okay? And then I do it again, opposite way. And I'm pushing into the wall. I'm using the wall to support me because I have no shoulder rotation. Here I am again. Keep going. Back. And back through. Oh, so much fun. So glad we did this. Release it, shake it out. Other side. So I'll show it to you from this direction now. So I'm going to start with my fingers down, hand shoulder height. Okay? Just starting here, opening up that forearm. It's going to be plenty for most of us. And bend those knees. Start to kind of sway all the way back around. So now I'm in a really strong internal rotation. Back through. So this side is actually much easier for me. My non-dominant side. So there's not as much muscle strength holding me in place. There's probably not as much compensation. But all sorts of cracking and popping. Ooh, even down into my elbow. And of all the things we've done today, this is what's making me sweat. Whew. Okay, so after you've done 2 rounds, you're just going to hold there in that initial starting place. And release. Shake it out. Maybe clasp the hands and do a couple figure 8s. And then switch directions. Okay. Now you're going to want your blocks. And you want to set yourself up so that you've got enough space for like a warrior or triangle position. So essentially 1 leg's length. Because we have butts, we can't really get all the way into the wall for this. So you do want to have like a block's width away from the wall. Okay. And I just like to keep it right next to my ankle. I'm going to show it to you from the other direction because I have more space. I put the block on the high end because I know that I'm going to need it for support. I've got my other block that I can place if I want right behind my calf, or if I know that I have issues keeping my knee out, I can push it right outside of the knee here so that I have to keep that block up in the air, and it forces me to keep that pressure out. So essentially, if I come here and flatten myself against the wall and turn my head to look towards the front fingers, I'm in a really nice warrior position. Now this might feel really weird, stay where you are, because we oftentimes are, if we're in a warrior, we're like this. Arms are all skewed and our heads all cranked. So this might feel like, whoa, this is not my warrior pose. And you're right, it is absolutely not your warrior pose. It is the correct warrior pose. So everything's pushing. I am pressing my left thigh back towards the wall. And then just notice, wish I had like a 360 camera here. Notice if you're kind of arching, you know, and you can kind of sneak an arm through there. Really want you to lift your pubic bone up and try to get that low back in towards the wall as much as you can. Now the beautiful thing is if you do have a nice little corner pocket like this, you can use that back hand to push into and really teach those core muscles to engage. So I'm really drawing my core back, as if somebody like punched you in the stomach and you're like, whoa. All right, give that side a rest. Other side. Now again, if you've got a corner pocket like this, super nice option. You can get that back leg right up into the wall there. I get my block set up. I get my other block, either my knee or my back thigh. Get the legs situated first. And then I notice when I came on the other side that my pelvis was level. But here, if you notice, I'm tipped forwards. And that's a really common thing when we've got internal thigh tightness. So what I need to do, wiggle my front foot away a little bit, slide that front butt cheek forward, and then drive this back thigh bone down and forward towards my front heel. Okay? And I mean, I feel this, like, my legs are fine except for like right here, this whole groin is just like, so that's where I'm typically, moving out of this pose or probably pulling my hips forward away from the wall typically in order to make the pose look right and feel good about it. So arms can come up. Start to glue the whole torso back into the wall. Shoulders are down. Again, if you've got that arching back, you're really working and driving your tailbone down, pulling your pubic bone up, sucking your uterus, bladder, all that jazz back into the low back so that you can press the spine into the wall as much as possible. Get those shoulders back into the wall. And then you'll come out of it. And we will switch back to the other side. Now I'm actually going to take this knee block out of the way. I've got the other block in there. I'm going to put it behind my calf on the other side. I'm going to come back into my warrior two. Make sure that if that left hip is popped up, that back hip is popped up, that you're driving it down and forwards. And then I'm going to take, that's why the block is there, because I cheat. I'm also on a carpet, which is probably not the best idea as I slip and slide all over the place. So calf, behind my calf, because as I come into extended side angle, I know that my coping mechanism is typically to move this back leg away to create more space for the rotation. So I'm pushing my knee back towards the wall. My shoulder is pressing against the wall. My other shoulder presses against the wall. And then whatever variation, and you can keep your hand on your side, you can reach it up, you can reach it forwards, but that top shoulder needs to stay on the wall wherever you are, and that left thigh or that back thigh needs to be pushing into the wall as well to hold the block. Beautiful. Now come on down and back yourself out of that position, and we'll set ourselves up for the other side. I'm gonna get a yoga mat before I kill myself. So, got our 2 blocks. Got 1 block here, shin. Got the other block behind the calf. Okay, I get the pelvis square. Then I slide down. Oh, this side is so much harder. I'm trying to pin this top hip backwards, so my butt wants to shift forward and away. And I need to think about spreading, almost like opening a book. Like if the book was kind of closed here, which is the hip and the knee, I'm trying to open it up. So the knee needs to come open and the hip needs to come open. Finding that opposition again. Pressing my whole back into the wall. I feel this in my neck, my shoulder, because my body is just not used to doing it right. And then I find a place that works best for my arm, for wherever I'm at in the rest of my body, which honestly is just limply lying over my rib cage trying to make it through this pose. Everything is struggling, for me at least, because I like to cheat in this pose, clearly. And I thought that my extended side ankle was a rock star pose for me, but nope. Twisting, rotating down, take yourself out of the pose. Oh, while we're here, let's do a wide-legged forward fold with our heels against the wall, our butts against the wall, our blocks in front of us so that we can really connect with the floor. So you can have your blocks, you can have your hands, just wherever you are, you're using the connection with the floor to press yourself back into the wall. My heels are against the wall, my hips are against the wall. And then just like my forward fold, I'm thinking about lifting my booty up, dropping my head down. And then I'm gonna walk myself up, step my feet away from the wall, and get ready for triangle. So I'm in the same position. I do want to place the block up a little bit higher here, kind of wedge it around my knee. The reason for this is that oftentimes what I see in triangle is that we lose our inner arch and we roll in as we come down. Now that, you can see it from this angle, I don't have super bendy knees in the opposite direction, but if you have double jointed, you would see as you roll down, the knee starts to bend that way, and then all the pressure is on the knee, and then we just put our hand on our knee, just a little more pressure for a joint that doesn't go that way. But if you keep this inner thigh lifting and pressing out, then there's always a soft bend in the knee, and we actually can come deeper into the pose. So take all that pressure out of your knee. I feel like triangle is like one of those poses that just breaks away at our cartilage in the knee so often. So you're placing this block here to remind you to externally rotate and press into it. I'm gonna have the other block in my hand. You could, if you had a third block, take this one behind the thigh, okay? But if you only have 2 blocks, you're gonna start off here. You are now just the opposite of what we were talking about in warrior 2, where I was driving that hip, that back hip down and forward. I'm actually gonna lift that hip up and back. As I do that, you can, you probably can't see it from that angle. So as I did that, as I drove the hip back, see what happens to my block? So that shows you right there, I'm rolling that knee inwards. Wall does not lie. So this might be a really slow process of lifting the hip up, externally rotating, lifting the hip up, externally rotating, lifting the hip up, externally rotating. I mean, this just might be like a ticking clock where I just very slowly come down into this triangle position. Maybe the hand comes on the block. Maybe I need to stay up. You want to stay either completely above the knee or completely below the knee. And if you find that you're not using the block, well, great. Put it behind your thigh. And that's gonna, oh, I gotta externally rotate like crazy on both sides. And that stops me from allowing that hip to roll forward. So this, what I might think is like this gorgeous triangle that I normally have is gonna look very different when I get myself on alignment, because now I have to pull my upper body back against the wall. And just pray and breathe. And keep externally rotating both of my legs. Externally rotate, externally rotate, externally rotate. Engage the core, press the spine towards the wall. I'm like so much stretch through here, because if I were to let everything drop, I'd be able to fall into this. To get that same sensation, I'd have to be this deep into this pose, but I'm blowing my knee out and I'm swiveling my butt around. And I'm not actually hitting the places I need to hit. Just take a couple more deep breaths here. Feeling the freedom in the legs. And then come up, then the knee release that way. Go ahead and switch sides. So, get my block there. Get my block there. I allow this hip to pop up. I externally rotate that front leg. Lift the hip, press it back towards the wall, externally rotate. So it's external, 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 external. And in between those external rotations, I'm walking myself down, keeping my upper body attached to the wall. Till I find that point where it feels like, yeah, this is enough for today. And I feel like I can keep a constant external rotation happening in the legs and keep this whole right side of my body, this top side of my body peeling open towards the sky. Keep that rib cage pressing back. And I use the top arm to pull me up. Oh, beautiful. Move my blocks and the knee, and then squiggle myself out of that position. And we're gonna come down onto the floor. Feet, you're gonna be on your belly with your feet into the wall. So I flex my feet into the wall. And I come down so that when I engage my legs, I'm actually lifting my thighs up off of the mat, okay? So this is more back bending variations, just like the ones we've been working on. So just a reminder, you stay where you are. I'm just gonna do this as a reminder. The variations we've been working on are up against the wall, thighs reaching up. I can only reach up with one arm, and then starting to tip back while keeping the thighs into the wall. And then last week we had the variation on the knees, same thing, coming into camel but keeping the thighs and the hips pressing into the wall. This is another variation. So we are going to start with our palms flat on the floor, back next to our hips. Legs engaged, pushing into the wall, so those thighs come up off the floor and our pelvis is pressed into the floor. And we're going to reach through the crown of our head, so not our face, okay? You're looking down to the floor. Reach through the crown of your head and start to bring the torso up. So I'm extending through the back of my head. As I come up, I'm pushing into the floor. And now, notice if you're using your belly to push into the floor to get you up, don't. Suck your belly up and away from the floor. Oh, that's so much harder. Because now my back is doing the work instead of my internal organs that I'm shoving into the floor to send me into a back bend. Oh God, this is so much fun. Whew. Lower yourself down. One ear on the floor. Release your feet. Because if you're working real hard with those legs pressing or those heels pushing into the wall, you should be feeling it through the muscles along the front of your shin. So we're going to do 2 more variations of this. Feel free to stay with this initial variation if it feels like your body wants to break form. You feel like you're continuing to push those internal organs into the floor instead of being able to lift them up. Stay with this initial version. So as we go through the next 2 versions, I'm going to talk you all the way through the process. Feel free to stay wherever you want to stay. So feet into the wall, thighs lift, so I'm pushing my hamstrings towards the ceiling, palms flat on the floor. I lengthen through the back of my head to come up. I suck all of my internal organs up into my back body. And then I pick my hands up and I think about squeezing my shoulder blades together and reaching again to the back of the neck, back of the head, coming up as high as I can, drawing my belly away from the floor, pressing my hips into the floor. My glutes are working overtime. And then lowering everything back down. Relax those feet. I lied, we're going to do 4 variations. It wasn't really a lie. I just decided to add an intermittent piece between these 2. All right. Feet on the floor, heels into the wall, palms down, back of the neck long. Suck your belly up before you even try to come into this back bend. And then come up. And then re-suck that belly in. Sucking isn't a good word. Lift. Draw it back. Lift the arms up. Maybe. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Pull your shoulders away from your ears. Maybe bend the elbows towards a cactus. Maybe fingertips touch the ears. Draw the belly up. Pull the elbows up. Pull the shoulders down. Squeeze your butt. Use your back muscles. And then move the hands through cactus all the way back down. And then everything comes down. One more variation. All right. Last one. Feet into the wall. Heels into the wall. Palms flat down. Back of the body long. Draw your belly up. Start the torso up. Maybe the hands come up. Draw those belly muscles in. Maybe the arms come out towards cactus and then towards the ears. And then maybe you rotate your fingers forward so it's like you're going to squeeze your head, and then keep your shoulders pulling towards your butt as you extend your arms forward. Strong legs. Draw the belly back. Breathe. If the arms are out, pull them back towards the head. Kiss the ears. Cactus. Straight back and down. Everything down. Woo. And then let's come into a child's pose again. So we stretch out the tops of those feet. Coming up. Whew. Take a stretch of the tops of the feet because they will be sore otherwise. So just lean back, pull your knees up towards the chest. And then we'll come in and legs up the wall to finish. Do it this way today. Switch things up a bit. So you see your butt goes into the wall, your legs come up. The flesh of your booty is up against the wall. The low back is on the floor. So if you need to place something under the low back, go ahead and do that. And let's just take a second with the knees pulled to the chest, the feet flat against the wall as much as you can. This is a nice squat variation. And then sending legs up the wall. Relaxing your arms at your side, palms face up. Now if you're feeling like your legs are super duper exhausted, or if in general you're just super exhausted, the little cheat trick here is if you've got a strap, you strap them in. I like to go just above the knees, strap it tight. Oh, and then I can really let those legs relax because I don't have to worry about holding them up on their own. It's super lazy wall yoga. Then you can feel that melting all the way into your pelvis, into your low back and belly. Take a couple deep breaths, waking back up with the breath. Then if you're strapped in, you can unhook your strap. Bring the knees down for that squat variation again. Roll on over to your side. And slowly come up. Have a seat pressed up against the wall. I love this variation of sitting because I get my butt against the wall and there's just ever so slight tipping backwards. It's so subtle, but it's enough for my whole nervous system to go, oh, I can be held. My low back is supported, everything feels good, but it's like a little hug, a meditative hug. Especially because we spend so much time sitting kind of forward and looking at our phones, looking at our computer and driving, and everything is forward, so that like centimeter of space that we have to just rest back is so delicious. I don't know why, it does it for me. And if it's doing it for you and you want to hang out here for a while longer, go ahead and hang out as long as you please. And I want to thank you guys for being here with me today and playing. The wall work is so hard, but it is so playful and fun. And I just appreciate your energy and being here, even if it is through a computer screen or a phone screen. So thanks for being here. Thanks for playing. And I'll see you next week. Namaste.